Oh god, I wrote this prompt before I found out more about all of this, and now I've really lost faith in it. But hey, what other children's literary characters could be repurposed into slasher films? But let's make this one good.
Well, I mean, this is cheating because it's kind of already been done.
Oh.
But Alice in Wonderland, because American McGee obviously made an amazing video game series.
Yes, the video game series. That's what I was wondering if you were getting at.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where she is basically a slasher. And it's so good. And now, as someone who has an Alice in Wonderland tattoo, I am half on team literary and half on team American McGee.
That's fair. And you have appropriated it so that the Alice could be either, and it's kind of freaky. It's a freaky Alice, and that's what we were all crying out for in this game. I feel like that's really good because Alice in Wonderland really lends herself to freakification. Her story is freaky. There's both, right? Through the Looking Glass and
just
Wonderland.
Adventures Underground, actually, but yeah.
Ah, okay. You see, that's the Disneyfication getting to me. Disneyfication. It affects us all. Did you know that in the original Peter Pan, he actually doesn't go to Neverland? He's just a guy who shows up.
Yeah, and then they call the police and he goes to jail.
They call the police. It's a really dark story, actually. It's all about stranger danger. And Disney turned it into a movie where you fly away and have an adventure with him.
Daddy, he said that he was a child. But he's like 40 years old.
I know. It was incorrect to go with him. Hello, and welcome to One Good Thing, the podcast that used to be a beloved children's story before Goodman abandoned me. Now it's this. Hey, folks. I am Pultifer Robin, and I am wandering into the deep and verdant 100-acre recommendations month, and I'm not going alone. I've dragged with me my incredulous friend, Katy Maydon.
Hi, everyone. I'm back.
She is back. And you may have heard Katy in previous OGTs and all the Screen Mayhem podcasts that she's done.
Yep.
There have been a lot. Last time you were here, us both, unfortunately, ripping the shit out of In Time in front of Jen.
No, last time I was here, it was Black Adam.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I did 2 in a row. I did Firestarter and Black Adam, which was after In Time. And Black Adam was honestly still, even having watched Blood and Honey, probably the worst film I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'd probably go along with that. I mean, my God, this is at least a hell of a lot shorter.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. But that was also a destruction of a beloved children's property, though, because of the Rock being in it.
Oh, he's still beloved to me.
He is beloved. He just needs to start making better decisions. Anyway, together we're taking on the cruel abandonment of beloved patron Mark Reed, who has promised to come back with Honey and Sandwiches if we do a good job of reviewing Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
You know, you're the first person I ever shown this place to.
And why am I so special?
Because soon we'll be Christopher and Mary Robin.
You should be close now.
We're not going to find them.
We will. Pooh, Piglett, Eeyore, we were friends for many years, and they're out there.
Christopher, we need to leave. Now.
I really need to find out what's happened here, okay?
Bringing us to my door. Is he gonna bring me honey sandwiches to my front door?
He's going to get in touch and arrange a convenient way of doing that.
Okay, because
that's
creepy.
keep it at the workplace. I think have him come to the workplace.
I'm not sure I want him to come to my workplace. Reception would be like.
We can't all choose how Mark Reed comes to us, but we're always grateful when he does. So, Winnie the Pooh, A Little History Lesson, is an endearing British children's book character created by A.A. Milne and illustrator E.H. Shepard, originally published in Punch magazine in 1924, and then collected into a book of short stories in 1926, first published work. Stephen Schlesinger acquires the American and Canadian rights in 1930, 4 years after. Disney expresses an interest in an adaptation to animated film as early as 1938. So, very early on. I guess Schlesinger was too tough a nut to crack because they end up getting the rights directly from Milne's widow, Dorothy, and Schlesinger's widow, Shirley, in 1961, 30 years later.
Wow.
You know, sometimes women just have to be patient and wait for the men to die before you can do some business.
Yeah, I mean, like, what was that medieval poem you shared with me recently where it was like, please don't live too long. Prayer. Yeah, because like it's a drag. If you could just like die pretty soon, that would be ideal.
Yeah, and oh my god, now that Cormac McCarthy's dead, his wife is going to sell the rights so hard. There's going to be everything. Animated shows, breakfast cereals of Blood Meridian, Sutri, the board game. It's going to get nuts.
And we're going to buy all of those things.
Yeah, we're going to buy that. I rolled a double one. You got typhoid. You best reflect on the poverty that defined your life and figure out if it also added value to it and then move on to the next town. This board game is really confusing. Don't know how to deal with it. But yes, that's also kind of scary, though, that Disney is so eternal that if you refuse to sell your rights to the thing, it'll just wait for you to die.
It'll just wait another 31 years for you to die.
Just wait. Disney will be there waiting when you're dead, and it'll take what you love and make it into an animated movie. And that's coming to us all. They're going to do that to One Good Thing.
The animated movie.
The animated movie. The animated children's movie.
That's making me really skinny. I want to be the princess. Finally. You can't be the princess.
Oh my god. I can't be...
Sorry.
That's bullshit.
You have to be like the comical like animated object. Like
I'm gonna be Olaf the Snowman, aren't I?
Yeah, you are.
Damn it. Gonna be voiced by Josh Gad's son.
Josh Gad Jr.
Josh Gad Jr. He's a stunningly original man. Anyway, speaking of which, Disney get their mitts on it and release Winnie the Pooh, the film, in 1966. It subsequently becomes a big franchise. The Schlesinger estate, who own the American and Canadian rights, has tried to sue Disney for bigger royalties, claiming that they undersold how much they've made off of it. And Milne's granddaughter, Claire, has tried to sue and get exclusive rights, thereby cutting out the Schlesingers. So it's fucking brutal behind the scenes at Winnie the Pooh Inc.
That should have been the plot of Blood and Honey. They should have just made a documentary about that and then not wasted my time.
It should have been Succession with the Winnie the Pooh rights.
I would have Succession like Wave 2. You know how we've done 4 series of Succession, over. Wave 2 will be the A.A. Milne rights.
The Milnes, yeah. God damn it! You don't know what it takes to run this company.
You haven't seen Succession, but
no,
that was good.
That that's what Brian Cox was like.
Good. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I hear he says "fuck off" a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
I think Claire Milne could do that. But why all this fuss about Winnie the Pooh, right? I mean, it's just Winnie the Pooh. Well, in 2003, it was estimated that Winnie the Pooh represented 3 to 6 billion of the total $25 billion that Disney pulled in that year.
Wow, that's a lot.
And in 2013, Winnie the Pooh was the 3rd biggest selling franchise in the world behind Star Wars and Disney Princesses.
I did not know that.
Nor the fuck did
Wait,
I.
hang on. Winnie the Pooh outsold Harry Potter.
Apparently. He's on every kid's thing.
No, but Harry Potter...
He's on, like, prams and pushchairs. This is 2013, but even so, like...
Even so, apparently. Like, I guess maybe Harry Potter, like, overtook with, like, at the end, you know, like, Deathly Hallows. I'm pretty sure that...
But also...
that some of those are, like, the biggest selling books of all time.
But I also heard that, like, Garfield was ridiculously huge. Like, huger than you think. So,
yeah.
I don't know
I guess also, like, Winnie the Pooh's have a lot more time than Harry Potter to catch up because, you know...
They've been selling his ass since the 60s, so...
Selling his sweet bare behind.
That sweet bare butt has been sold all over town. And he's Disney's 2nd biggest single character after Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
And also poor Minnie.
So, poor Minnie. Justice for Minnie. Hashtag justice for Minnie.
Hashtag justice for Minnie.
So, it's fair to say that there was a lot of clenched butts in 2022 when Milne's original Pooh book became 95 years old, thereby making it enter the public domain.
No, that's not when stuff enters the public domain.
In America, it does. Over here in the UK, it's still in the public domain, and therefore you can't do the same thing. But this is a British film.
Yeah, so
I don't know how that works.
When did A.A. Milne die?
Oh, it's after his death. I'm not sure.
75 years after the death of the copyright holder, not the person who owns the rights. So it would have been 75 years after the death of A.A. Milne.
Of Milne.
And I'm pretty sure that also applies in the US.
Well,
I think they have the same rules as us.
Look it up, but if you look up anything about this, the reason this movie is made is because it's 95 years after that book. So I don't know I don't know why, but that's what it's telling me. It is weird, but Disney hold on to the rights to everything that originated in their adaptations, including Pooh's iconic red shirt, which is they put on him. But anyone can make a movie about a bear called Winnie the Pooh now.
Yep.
Anyone.
Literally anyone, as we have discovered.
Enter the villain of this story, Reese Frake Waterfield. He worked for EDF Energy, but left in order to make rubbish horror films.
And to be honest, good move.
It's a fair move, but in 2 years he produced 36 films and had a go at directing films like Easter Killing, The Area 51 Incident, The Killing Tree, and Firenado.
Let's watch Firenado soon.
Okay. His next 2 films are going to be Bambi the Reckoning and Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. And he's also interested in making a movie about the Teletubbies. So he's an imaginative guy with lots of different
Teletubbies,
ideas.
that I'd change my answer. Teletubbies would be terrifying because they were already terrifying.
They're already terrifying, but I do not trust this man to do anything about that. I don't actually suspect he's seen any of this. I think he's just seen some pictures. I think he might have Googled what they look like, and that's it. This film was received by critics like a sledgehammer to the head. Kim Newman at Empire Magazine, beloved Kim Newman, said, "As a subversive take on Milne, it's achingly banal. As a rural horror film, it's more inept than the most wretched Wrong Turn sequel. And as a would-be cult classic, it commits the ultimate sin of being no fun at all." And that does it for me. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Bye.
That's all of my notes. Once again, Kim Newman just stepping in and saying it all. Public, meanwhile, are incredibly annoying, and all the top-rated reviews are obviously sarcastic love letters to the film, declaring it a cinematic masterpiece. Flawless, watchable, ridiculous exaggerations. So I'll quote none of them, and shame on Google, even more than usual.
We say that every time I'm on the show.
Every time the show is on, we shame Google for being unaccountable and the worst, and that continues into the saga of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. The film has 3% on Rotten Tomatoes, 3% on IMDb, 56% on Google, oh you jokesters, and made $5.2 million on a $100,000 budget. All the money's on the screen, folks. So, Katie, you abomination. What's one thing about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey that made you want to leave forever?
I liked... So in the credits, it lays over with like newspaper cuttings of like murders in the woods, blah blah blah, body found, and there was a line that was like, "Don't go down to the woods today."
Okay.
And I was like, "Please sing it." I was like, "Please, at some point, sing it." Like, if you don't sing, if you go down to the woods today, you are missing. And they did not sing it. I was disappointed.
Well, that's literally this entire movie is missed potential.
So much missed potential. But that line, I had a little giggle. I was like, okay. I see what you did there.
I see where you're going. I see where you are. I see who you are. All right. Well, let's dive in. Let's talk about what happens in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, because we start with an animated retelling of the original story that looks bad.
It looks bad, but actually that was the best part of the movie.
It's gonna get worse, folks.
Deep in the 100-acre woods, a young boy named Christopher Robin came across some most unusual adolescent creatures. Crossbreeds, who some would describe as abominations.
Like, it was pretty, like, it was bad, but because it's a horror movie, I was like, okay, well, this is actually quite funny, the way that they're doing this, like, Christopher Robin meets these things, and then he grows up and he goes to college and, like, leaves them alone, and it was all, like, in, like, ink and, I was like, okay, cool.
And goes off to college as well. I know we have colleges, but that just sounded wrong to me.
They made it American.
Yeah, they made it American, because we do have colleges, but, like, it felt wrong. He should have gone off to university.
Yeah, but it's set in America. It's filmed...
No, it's set here.
Oh, yeah, it's set here. I just remembered like their accents. Yeah, it is set here.
There is a hillbilly for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, there is a hillbilly. That's why it confused me. But yeah, you're right. College. It should have been university.
Yeah.
You're right.
Should have been.
But still...
Anyway, he goes off to college, and then they all go wild and hungry and decide to eat eel. Which, to be fair, you would eat eel first.
I don't know.
I think you would.
Why would you eat an elephant before you ate a pig?
Because he's a bummer. Katie.
He is the representation of depression.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You eat that person first. Why was Tigger not in this and all of this?
Oh my god, why weren't there any other of the Winnie the Pooh characters? All they had was Pooh and Piglett. Why did we not have Tigger? We didn't have Owl. We didn't have Kangaroo. Like, also, why is there a kangaroo?
It's Kangaroo, isn't it?
But why is there a kangaroo when it's set in the UK?
Don't ask those questions. Why is there a tiger?
Yeah, why is there a tiger?
Just leave A.A. Milne to his grave. So, but, you know, I genuinely think it's because they couldn't afford the masks. So, yes, they return to their animalistic roots, killing the innocent and feasting upon their flesh, just like rabbits and pigs do.
The rabbit's not in this.
Well, I think he is in the opening credit sequence.
Yeah, but after that, it's just Pooh and Piglett.
Yeah,
I was so disappointed.
Gone. Indeed. Well, that was fun. Now let's check out the cinematography, acting, and screenwriting that we'll be enjoying for the next 86 minutes.
Told you it wouldn't take that long. Come on. I know exactly where to go now.
You said that 2 hours ago.
Nearly there. Promise?
Okay, 1 more hour.
1 more hour.
If not, we're turning back.
Okay.
Uh-oh. And they find Eeyore's grave. Oh, but Christopher Robin was the only one in 100 Acre Woods who could spell, for although Owl was very wise and able to read and write and spell his own name, he would go all to pieces over delicate words like measles and buttered toast. Anyway, they explore the dilapidated murdering shack where the animals have been squatting and hide under the bed when the enormous murdering Pooh returns home.
When you say they, you mean Christopher Robin.
Oh yeah, and his new wife.
Though, I noticed an inconsistency here. Because he said...
They're engaged, but then he says wife?
Yes, they're engaged. He's like, you're about to be Mrs. Christopher Robin, by the way. Worst line ever. And then, all of a sudden, she's his wife. And I was like, you got married in between, like, that line? And because I missed the whole ceremony.
They got married in the shack.
Was Pooh the best man? I don't know.
Pooh was the best man. Then he was the worst man because he allowed Piglett to murder his wife.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Not the hot wife.
But there's something wrong with Piglett. He just killed my wife. Please.
So there's a long sequence of them menacing him. And then they swap to animation and drag him into a cave.
Yep. And I was like, oh, he dead. But,
he
spoilers,
short movie.
he's not dead yet.
But he's not dead yet. So we meet our new hero, Angsty Main Girl.
Angsty Main Girl, who is a brunette. And I was like, oh, she's a brunette, so she might live.
Yeah, but to be fair, most of her friends are nearly identical brunettes as well. So
no, there's one ginger chick and a blonde as well. So
there is a ginger chick and a blonde,
and two of them are in a relationship. So yeah, they're
don't worry, we're gonna break those down very shortly, and they're rich characters. So Angsty Main Girl's therapist tells her to go head out into the woods with all her well-acted mates. She stops by a petrol station and meets a hillbilly.
Yeah.
Well, how you doing, girl? Sorry I couldn't hear you back there.
No, it's fine. I just wanted to ask, the pumps outside, are they working?
Them old things? You seen them?
And like, really, really briefly, 2 other people who are like his friends or something.
Yeah, his mates. They'll show up later. Oh, there are other people in the car. She's not driving alone. Well, that makes the line she shouted out less inexplicable.
Yeah, because we didn't know that other people in the car.
I don't think there's anyone here.
No, why did she get out and explore alone? Anyway, there's 5 of them. Glasses, blonde, Sharon Horgan, I think, from Catastrophe. One of them? I think one of them. The one with the thicker hair. Sassy, who I optimistically call Sassy because she delivers her first line in a sassy way, but she will not be saying anything else sassy for the rest of this movie. And then Angsty Main Girl. So, yeah, 5.
Yep.
Oh, but there's also Amy Pond, who is struggling to find the place. And unfortunately, all of the friends have decided to sack up all their friends, knowing they've got another friend coming.
Yeah.
And decide to lock all their phones away first.
So this character is why the reason he called her Amy Pond is because she's ginger, and she's got what I've got, a septum piercing. And I was like, oh, the alternative girl, and she immediately gets killed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, bye, alternative girl.
Yeah. Oh, but the blonde announces that she's going to pack when they get there, and also says Dibsy best room, which is wrong for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
So these aren't believable human beings.
I don't need it. And anyway, I'm going to pack. Dibsy best room.
Okay.
I think she meant to say I'm going to unpack.
Yeah. And dibs first. Dibs on... You usually say that after you've seen a room. You don't say Dibsy best room.
Yeah, because there might not be a best room. But we don't see the room, so...
They never see the rooms, because there is actually no upstairs to this place.
No, we see one room.
Elaborate illusion. We see one. We see a pool.
We see the couple's room.
Oh, that's true, because yes, there is a couple. It is... Wait, Sharon Horgan and Sassy Sue. So, good for them. But yeah, Pooh comes after Amy Pond, and she breaks into a horror movie run, arms flailing. And Pooh catches her and forces her into a fresher. Don't worry. It didn't look good. Also, don't worry. He tore her top off first.
Yeah,
Yay,
I was so
flashes.
confused about why she needed to be topless.
I wasn't. I got the idea. Blonde, meanwhile, is up cavorting in her underwear, as all girls do.
She, to be fair, she is not in her underwear. She is in a swimsuit.
Okay. That's a good distinction, and I'm the problem.
You are the problem.
So she's up cavorting in her swimsuit. I'm the patriarchy right now. Hi, everyone. I'm your local branch of the patriarchy. Address all complaints to me. So, Angsty Main Girl tells the story of why she's angsty, and it's that she kept finding footprints in her garden. I thought it was in my head or something. What footprints in your garden? That's a definite red flag.
Yeah. No, it's not okay. Call the police.
That's not okay.
She did actually call the police.
But apparently they didn't do anything, which is the only believable part of this film.
Yeah, because it was like, I don't know, there was nothing to be done or whatever. Like maybe, I don't know, put her somewhere safe or...
You may have imagined these footprints. Which ones? Those? Oh, yeah, maybe. Something to think about. Anyway, one night when she was wandering around in her underwear, she sees someone out there. We're told in VO. Thank God we didn't just experience that as she did.
Peered through the curtains. Just saw these eyes staring straight at me.
The narrator was there to explain
Thank
before
God.
it happened. And then a creepy guy broke in. And then the line gets said, the police found his computer and loads of me.
Yeah, that was like the weirdest line.
The police found his computer and found loads of me.
She could have said, and there were lots of pictures of me or videos of me.
Yeah, that's clearly what she meant, but they left out the word pictures. Was anyone watching this as they filmed it?
Did anybody edit the script? Because I think
I don't
no.
think anybody was manning the cameras.
Like honestly, like it just needed. Well, it didn't. It needed a lot, but it needed editing. Like somebody needs to. I think they just wrote the script and they're like done. It's only like 94 minutes long, 84 minutes long. It wouldn't have taken you that long to read the script again.
I think what they could have done is had an adult on set. That really would have helped. Anyway, Christopher Robin is still alive. We get a flashback that shows, in terms of acting and dialogue, Christopher Robin is nothing if not consistent. So, yeah, Pooh whips him with his dead wife's hair and then showers him in her blood. Well, this is so edgy. It's like a naughty slasher remake. Remember how well those have all aged?
So bad.
Everybody loves the Texas Chainsaw remake. I watch it every year.
For this podcast.
For this podcast, yeah. I have to. So, they capture Blonde and run over her head, and it looks bad.
It looks really bad. Her eye came out, and I was like, oh, an eye, but it looked so bad that I was like...
It looks so bad.
Like,
and
that's
had
not
CGI
an
blood.
eye, yeah.
I genuinely think we could do a better effect than that. You and I right now.
We literally could. I've got some ketchup and some eyes.
We can make some paper mache. Like, we can make it look, if not real, better than that.
Like, it wouldn't... Anyway. I always prefer, like, shitter and less CGI.
Yes, always practical is better, but my God, that was rubbish. So, meanwhile, Sharon Horgan and Sassy Sue and Glasses and Angsty Main Girl are in couples, but, like, not together, but both hear that something is going on. So, they come back to the house. And one of them says, "Something's wrong. Why is the door left open like that?" It's very good. Very good dialogue. Delivery. They all decide to stick together and find a weapon, and then do none of those things. Also to call the police, but they don't do that either.
Though at one point, one of them is like, "Oh, I have a gun."
Yeah, fuck me. Angsty main girl remembers that she probably has a gun, so they separate off from the others and go looking for it. "Oh, a torch. We'll use that," they actually say. Out loud.
Okay, we've got a torch. We'll use that.
As opposed to just picking up the torch and using it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I wouldn't have understood that.
Like, this
It's
isn't a
wait,
podcast.
what is that? Where did she find it? And what's she going to use it for, I would say out loud. In the cinema. So,
and everyone's like, "You're so right." In the cinema.
God. My illusion is shattered.
They clap.
And then later on, someone will be like, "It was a torch." And we'll be like, "Oh."
What's she going to use it for?
A torch. We can use this to see. Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
Sassy Sue gets killed in the pool, and they capture Sharon Horgan and go off.
No. Oh, yeah, you missed out.
I easily could have mixed this up.
No, you're right, but you missed out the blonde's death. Did you?
No, I didn't. She got run over by a car.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. Okay, yeah. So, no, you're right. Yeah, she gets killed in the pool.
I think it's Sassy Sue gets killed in the pool, and then Sharon Horgan gets captured. Could easily be the other way around. But Glasses and Angsty Main Girl follow noisily, talking all the way. They rescue Sharon Horgan and then find Christopher Robin and some woman, and in all three instances spend absolutely ages untying all three of them.
Yeah, so 3 of them try and untie Christopher Robin, because that's the best way to untie a knot, is to have 3 people doing completely different things. And then they find blonde woman, who, by the way, is the blonde woman from the beginning, I think. Like, they run into, like, 2 friends of the hillbilly guy. I'm pretty sure that's the same blonde.
Okay, that explains that.
Yeah.
Anyway, they nearly get away, but some woman sees her reflection in a window and can't help loudly moaning about it. Oh, damn the vanity of women. It'll get you every time. So she goes immediately insane, takes the gun and goes looking for them. The 3 women look on and improvise some very natural dialogue.
Piglett! Where are you?
She's mental. He's gonna come out. He's gonna... Oh God, it's all right.
Very nice. This whole thing is just it's like I was there.
It's like Richard Linklater.
It's like I was part of their friend group.
It's like Greta Gerwig. Like, how is this so natural? So, they managed to ward off, they awkwardly ward off Pooh with fire. Did I write down a note? No, I didn't. How do they kill some woman?
What?
The one with it took the gun and went off to kill him?
Blonde woman number 2?
Piglett. Yeah. I think Piglett kills her.
Hang on.
Mauls her face.
I wrote stuff down. 1 second. Blonde chick from the start. Piglett.
Piglett's been mauling her face, and so I think
Piglett
just
there was a great
again.
bit where there was like they get into this clearing with some caravans, and really inexplicably there's like a dish, like a silver dish with the lid on. I don't know what the word is. Like a that usually have a pig's head in, and they were like, "Where's Piglett?" And I was like, "Oh my God, he best come out the dish. His head best come out the dish. Like it usually has a pig's head in it, and it didn't, and I was so disappointed."
Once again.
I
think they maul her to death.
No, I didn't write it down. So I think mauling of some kind. Yeah.
I look away for a bit, and when I look back, Sharon Horgan has Piglett tied up and is hitting him with a sledgehammer.
I looked away at that exact same moment. Or did we not look away and it just happened and there was a weird cut?
It just happened and it's really poorly edited and they didn't film everything they needed to.
Because,
quite possibly.
Like, if we both thought that we looked away at the same time and missed it, I think maybe it was just a weird cut and it didn't exist ever.
Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between a film being really poorly edited and just incredibly boring because it was incredibly difficult to keep looking at it. So they get found by Hillbilly and his mates, including Slash. Oh, I think Pooh may have killed Sharon Horgan.
Oh yeah, Pooh has killed the other one that's in the lesbian couple by now. Yeah.
Okay, good. So yeah, the British Hillbilly crew go and get their tools. They say, "Let's tool up," and then he gets sticks.
So Sharon Horgan
and a bottle
killed Piglett.
Oh yes,
yeah, but then she gets killed by Pooh. So yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah.
They advance menacingly while saying very natural things to each other. And eventually, after a long fucking time, they start beating him up.
Yeah. They're like, "Are you ready to go, boys?" And it's like, just do it. Like, just start beating him up. Like,
oh my god, start beating him up. But beating him up makes him grow to an alarming size in one shot, and he slowly kills them. My god, can I emphasize how long this scene takes and how bad it looks.
And bear in mind, this film is a short film.
This is such a short, long film. So, yeah, he then kills Glasses, I guess. I missed that as well. That was also something I looked away from the screen
Yeah,
for.
so... No, you didn't, because I looked at the screen for the whole thing, and you don't get to see her death. So you see, she's in the car. Main chick is in the car. But the hillbillies brought their car. And instead of driving off, they try and beat him up. Anyway, main chick is in the car, and Glasses chick is out there with Pooh, and then instantly he has her head in his hands, and I was like, we could have seen a beheading there, and I would have been so up for it. But we did not get to see
at this stage.
I'm so up for a beheading, right? Always. But no, we just got to see the head, and I was like, this is disappointing. I am disappointed. Where's my beheading?
Where is my beheading?
That's going to be my review, actually.
That's fair. Where's my decapitation?
Look, if there's not a decapitation, I ain't interested. Okay.
I'm not interested. But yeah, Pooh's about to kill angsty main girl when Robin shows up and crushes him with a car. But Pooh's alive, so it's time for another performance-based standoff. Hooray.
Please, why are you doing that? Why won't you stop? It's me you wanted. Leave her alone. You've had enough people, Pooh. Please.
Was this directed by someone for whom English was their second language? Is my note on this. But it doesn't work. Angsty main girl dies. That was all worthwhile. So Robin runs away, leaving Pooh to, I swear to God, appear in at least 2 more of these fucking things that are in development.
Honestly, it didn't make any sense because right at the beginning, right in the prologue, they're like, and they have so much hatred for humans, especially Christopher Robin. And Christopher Robin's like, take me instead of the girl that I just met half an hour ago. Take me, she saved my life. And then he says his only line, Pooh, which I think is... You lie? Oh, you left. Okay, I did not catch that. You left. But then why does he not kill Christopher? He's the one he wanted to kill this whole time. It didn't make
Gotta leave something for Pooh Part 2.
No. Yeah, we could have left the chick.
Could have left the chick, but fuck it. So, yeah, that's that. So, I've got a rant about this, but you best start. What did you think of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey?
I thought it was really bad. Yeah. So... we've already had a couple of things to say about the dialogue, right? Well, not just the dialogue, the writing in general. But a lot of it didn't make any sense. Yeah. And the sentences, like you say, doesn't sound like they were written by someone who actually speaks English, which
really
may
sloppy.
have been the case.
British director. I don't know.
British director, but it doesn't mean it was written by someone who...
Yeah, true.
And there are so many things that actually the actors probably could have changed those lines because they probably knew that they didn't make sense. Like, for example, I'm going to pack should have been I'm going to unpack, and that would have made so much more sense and not made us go like, what the fuck? Like,
just tiny little things. It sounds small, but it's just tiny little moments that just add to the... It was written by the same guy, by the way, this fucking Reese Frake Waterfield. But it's not tiny, it's endless tiny moments.
Yep.
Every line has something just a bit wrong with it.
Yep. Just like that inconsistency between the fiance and the wife. Just make her a girlfriend, like the whole thing. Just like, just make her a wife the whole thing. Also, he's only been away for 5 years, so he's like in his early 20s. Why does he have a wife? Like, it doesn't make any sense. That really annoyed me. The acting was awful, like so bad, dreadful. And the one thing that can redeem a film like this, right, is the gore.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any gore. Like, there was gore, but it was bad. And do you know what ruined a lot of the gore? The lighting. Like, the lighting was constantly either too dark or too bright, which means you couldn't see the injury detail. And I was like, okay, well, this film is clearly about gore. It's literally a film where there's, like, you know, a pig and a bear being up humans. Let us see the gore. And we couldn't see it because of the bad lighting. And I was like...
That is because of the heritage of the film, I think.
The hell?
Well, I think the director must have been a big fan of those noughties slasher movie remakes. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Nightmare on Elm Street, Rob Zombie's Halloween movies, which were unpleasant, really charmless, but dark enough that you couldn't see anything that was going on, so you could get away with a lower rating and sell this towards teens who would mistake its air of unpleasantness for actual horror.
Yeah.
I think he must be a fan of that school of horror, because this sucks. I hate it.
Like, who is he must be the only fan of that school.
There's weird, like, every so often I'll see someone post, like, the poster for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake and be like, oh, this film is so underrated. It's like, it's not. You're just too young. You're too young.
Watch the original.
Go away. Watch the original. It's one of the best horror movies ever made. That is drag. It's, anyway.
Yeah, so, that... all of that was just really, really, and it was boring. Like after the first bit, so boring. Not
my God.
Like, because it was short, it didn't feel as boring as Black Adam, but it is as boring as Black Adam. It's just that Black Adam was twice as long. So
Black Adam's louder.
It's louder. At least it has Dwayne Johnson in it. Like this,
Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, I mean, like I've got a couple of good things, but honestly, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel of good things. If you are a horror fan, you think, oh, maybe I'll watch this one day because I've watched every other horror film ever.
If you've watched all of them,
don't bother. Like, watch something you've seen before. It's not worth it. Like, we are both huge horror fans and have seen tons of horror movies.
Yeah.
This does not even. It's not even like bad good. Like, watch Firestarter above this if you really want to scrape the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really cynical piece of work, this. I mean, you get this now and then. It's the cinematic equivalent of clickbait. It's snakes on a plane. You know, ridiculous premise, look at me title, and then in terms of content, bare minimum, excuse the pun. The filmmakers had absolutely nothing beyond the premise. Nothing. They had a title. You know, replace Pooh and Piglett with just hillbillies and masks, and you'd have a below mediocre slasher movie, completely devoid of the charm or skill that makes any slasher movie worth watching. The gore looks bad, and you can't see it. The characters are not endearing, and there's no filmmaking now, so it's poorly paced and ugly. There's no tension, and they keep going for tension sequences. That's why it takes 10 minutes for the fucking hillbillies to walk up to Pooh and start hitting him, because he thinks he's drawing out tension.
Nope.
It's massively overwrought and anticlimactic. Sometimes it's amusingly bad, but nowhere near consistently enough for this to work as a so bad it's good film.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. If you think about those so bad it's good films, at least they have, like, well, in terms of horror, at least they have, like, injury detail and gore. This doesn't have any of that. No.
Or at the very least, they keep finding new ways to be interesting and amusing. Like, for the most part, this is just... The bits that are funny are the terrible script. The script, which is absolutely dire, is what the main source of fun is. The visuals, the aesthetics, the pacing, the kills, none of those are, you know, worth enjoying. Because they don't look bad enough to be funny or good enough to be engaging. But there's merit. There's merit to this idea. Turning a children's book into a horror movie, it has potential. And the premise of Christopher Robin leaving behind the childhood friends, all of whom, as we all know, manifested some form of mental illness, and then returning to find that they've corrupted in his absence, has dramatic potential. There's a lot of guilt associated with leaving people behind from your childhood, and a lot of pain associated with returning to childhood places and people that you've left behind.
Yep,
you know,
so
there's room there.
Yeah, you've got, and if you'd had some of the other animals, you would have experienced, hopefully, some of the other, like, forms of mental illness. Because you had Pooh's addiction to honey, which is, like, he's the addict who's, like, the alcoholic, right? But you didn't have any anxiety from Piglett, who represents anxiety, and they killed depression. But you didn't have ADHD, which is Tigger, and you didn't have multiple personality disorder, which is Kango, right? Kango and Roo, that's why there's two of them. And it's just like, okay, so if you'd played more on, like, the mental health aspects of the characters, then that would have been really interesting. But no, they just left it out.
No.
Like, Pooh was addicted to honey, but there was no, like, he wasn't, like, if he hadn't had some in a while, he would go...
No, it didn't motivate his actions.
No.
He was just a murderous psychopath.
Yeah.
You know, completely generic.
He was just high on sugar.
No, the film doesn't explore any of that. Christopher Robin cries a lot as over-the-top things happen to him. Bathing him in blood and whipping him with his fucking dead wife's hair is so, like, adolescent. You know? And I think that's what really comes out of here, is that the film moves on to this bland bunch of teens who aren't even developed enough to be cliched. And, you know, the director said he wanted to ruin childhoods with this movie, like some sort of fucking edgelord. But those... there's no genuine subversion or commentary. And I think the only thing that this movie proves is that the director is not out of his childhood. Because this feels like a 15-year-old boy's idea of edgy. And I thought all of that, and then I ended up reading about the guy, the director, and about who he was, and it's actually even worse than all of that, because this is an absolutely valueless piece of cinematic refuse, but it's actually an industrial con job intended to flood an undemanding market with cheap crap. That's fine if you stick to streaming, that's where you do that kind of thing. But this charlatan used a beloved IP to sneak into cinemas. And cinema is fragile. It can't handle con jobs right now. Sucker jobs that lure people in with a tasty premise and then bore their minds out with low production values and no imagination. There's not an honest bone in this. And his plan to run this idea into the fucking ground even further just fully reveals this man-child to be a fraud. The worst thing I can wish upon him is the self-awareness to be rightly ashamed of all of this, which I hope comes to him. It's so upsetting. I'm sure people will have been turned away from the cinema after this thinking, that looked like fun, but it was really bad. And yeah, with cinemas in such a fragile state, we really can't afford to be having that right now.
No, definitely not. And saying that it made millions of dollars, that's clearly what he was trying to achieve, and he achieved it. And
he's learnt the worst lesson from this.
Yeah, which is to keep doing it, basically, by using, as you say, an IP that people know is as a thing. If he was planning on making a Peter Pan, people go and see it because it has the word Peter Pan. And though I don't think Peter Pan is as beloved as Winnie the Pooh, so maybe it'll crash a bit more.
Maybe, but I think the whole thing is because I saw a trailer for this at the Prince Charles Cinema, which is, par the course of this sort of thing. But it was before Skinamarink, unbelievably, one of the best horror movies, made recently. And the trailer went down with the crowd, because it was such a what the fuck kind of reaction. I've got to see this, performatively bad. I've just gone and seen Blood and Honey, kind of thing. It's a meme film. It's intended for you to sort of share it on the social media to say that you've done it and experienced it. But just in the worst possible way, because there's nothing beyond the surface of that. It's hollow. It's completely hollow, and it looks like it cost £100,000.
Yeah, it
looks worse than that.
Look at, for example, the relationship between the lesbian couple. So this guy clearly went, I want to have some lesbians in this movie, right? So they get in.
Although he doesn't exploit them much.
They get in. One of them has set out a really nice romantic thing in their bedroom, and the other one is reluctant to kind of go there. And then there's a couple of scenes with them together, and then they both die. And I think what he was trying to do, though unsuccessfully, was to be oh, she's defending her, so she really does want to be in this relationship kind of thing. But that didn't come across at all. If they'd spent more time on character development between the couple, and then had the case where she was no, take me over her, and then the other one realized that she did actually love her, that would have actually been really nice. But no, it didn't actually. Well, he didn't actually do that in any way.
No, there's no interest in doing that. It's just literally this just fill a thing. This feels like the first draft, with typos included. It feels like everyone was given one take, and maybe they even just saw the script as it was being read. And, it was the cheapest job possible. And there's no quality or care given to it. It's a sheer fleece job. It's purely intended to be provocative enough to get you into the cinema and have your money. And now he has your money, he's running off, and he's planning all these different projects because he has learnt that this is an effective means of making a movie. Beloved IP, no production value or care, guaranteed money. It's like Asylum. It's like the Sharknado movies. It's exhausting and upsetting, and I hope that the whole thing crashes and burns sooner than even he anticipates, because I'm sure he knows that this is a bubble that's going to burst. But I hope even the second film starts to fail, because this is going to have no word of mouth. No one is praising this. Nobody is saying, oh my god, that was such a crazy time. This is just dreck.
I'd forgotten about it until you said, do you want to watch this? And I was not really, but I'll do it.
Yeah. Oh god, it just occurred to me I didn't look at Mark Reed's message that he sent to us. I hope he's not a fan of it. I hope he's done this because he hates us. Please hate us, Mark Reed. We'll find out. Otherwise, I take back some of what I said, but not much. This is still... I really hate the director. I really dislike the guy on a personal level. As a person, I hope bad things happen to him. With that in mind, let's quickfire. Quickfire. First time we see 100 Acre Woods, there's a piano going and the woods look quite nice. That's quite good.
I like that they used honey So like he was throughout he was drinking honey, so it did have a small element of the addiction thing that Pooh was supposed to represent.
Where does he was he somehow? Where was the honey coming from?
He had jars all over the place, and we get like an initial shot of jars, which kind of is like a shot of like, you know, someone that drinks a lot and leaves the bottles out, which I thought was pretty good. But then again, who's giving it to him if Christopher's not?
Yeah, quite. But it's not related to the murders. He's not, you know, through some weird twisted logic harnessing the
blood to make honey.
Yeah,
that would have been really good.
That would have incentivized it in some way, although I don't quite know how. It was somewhat affecting. Christopher Robin's actor, oh my god, he's bad.
Oh my god, he is so bad. His voice was so
might be
annoying.
the worst performer in the film. Oh, Jesus. And they give him such repetitive dialogue. Like 90% of his lines are, Pooh, stop it, no.
Remember what we had, Pooh.
Oh, God, I can see you're starting to remember. And it's just, oh, God, he's bad. But the first time you see him, like, begging Piglett not to kill his wife, it is somewhat affecting.
But once the wife is dead, he, like, it's, you know...
Oh,
and that happens so fast. It's like, what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes into the movie? 5 minutes, probably. Speaking of the beginning of the movie, the prologue was pretty alright. Even though the drawing wasn't great, it would have been better if the whole movie had been in drawing.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind the prologue. I thought, okay, this is setting a decent, an average standing, and then it plummeted after that. But yeah, I thought the prologue was alright.
Yeah, sure. I did think the masks were fairly unsettling. The masks for Pooh and Piglett. They were fairly unsettling. You know, they looked somewhat menacing, but they never looked believable as like a living creature. But that's fine. It just, you know, needs to look somewhat spooky. And I did think they were somewhat menacing, and you know, that's a good thing.
I liked Christopher Robin's cardigan. In fact, all the clothes were pretty like spot on for that age of person.
I seriously think they probably were asked to bring their own clothes.
Which means that they were spot on, right? Because they're just their own clothes. But his cardigan was really nice, and I was like, oh, Christopher Robin might actually wear that cardigan.
Yeah, grown-up Christopher might wear that. I like that. Some good menacing shots of the woods in there as well. I think generally early on, there's some good sort of mist-filled shots of the woods, so kudos there. It could have been stock footage that they bought from elsewhere, which would explain the competence that went into its film.
There was one line that the hillbilly said, which was...
Oh, yeah?
Which actually made me giggle a tiny bit, which was...
Ooh. I ain't no human, Logan. Well, it ain't no bear either.
I was like, yeah, no shit. But actually, it made me giggle a little bit because it was like, you are so dumb. You are about to die. Like, not quickly enough, but they were about to die.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Okay, yes, the line where she searched the whole place and then looks seemingly off, only just a little off camera, and says, I don't think there's anyone here. And you don't know that she's talking to her friends who are in the car because it hasn't bothered to establish she's not alone. It's just kind of hilarious to see a character walking around having explored a place for ages and then just say that to no one.
There was a great bit, you know, the hillbillies, there's 4 hillbillies, inexplicable hillbillies, who are about to beat up Pooh, right? And they go, get your weapons ready, and they have a shot of each weapon. So one person has like a big hammer, one person has a baseball bat, one person has like a crowbar, and then the other person inexplicably has a bottle of wine. And in my head, all I just thought was, I'm going to offer him this nice Shannon to see. Like, I was like, was there nothing else, like a spare tire or like another tool that you had?
Menace him with a spare tire. Roll it at him.
Do you know what I mean? Like, anything would have been better than a nice bottle of unopened white wine. Why do hillbillies have a bottle of white wine in their car?
Christ.
It made no sense.
Like, swap it for like booze of some sort,
like Jack
wine,
Daniels or something. Like not a bottle of white wine. It was really funny. I just thought, I was like, did they do that for comic effect, or did somebody just have one? It was like, I'm going to my mum's, I've got a bottle of wine on the set, so yeah.
They went to the joke shop, and that was what they could get a cheap replica of in order to smash over the head, because you need a sugar glass thing.
Right.
They probably would have been specialist Jack Daniels bottles that cost more money.
Yes.
If ever anything is inexplicable, just they didn't want to spend money is probably the solution.
Exactly. But I thought it was funny. Obviously unintentionally funny, but I thought it was funny.
That is funny. One good thing that actually did look good was that they've got a bunch of skeletons hanging in the barn, the killers do. And one of them still has the very top of the head, and that looked quite good. I don't know if that meant we were supposed to recognize them because everybody looks the same, but it was still quite good grisly detail.
The thing is, though, that the wife skeleton, how is she a skeleton? Like, she
they
just
presumably
got
ate
killed.
her.
Yeah, I know, but like it wasn't
the
like...
The timeline is ridiculous. Because he's got stubble by the time that we go back to him.
Because there wasn't like skin hanging off it or anything.
No.
So if the credits had like the newspapers and stuff, if they'd had, what they could have thrown in there was a news program where it said it's been 6 months since he disappeared or whatever, and then we could be like, oh, that's why he has stubble. It would have been 2 seconds worth of dialogue.
Could have been. I was okay with that. I'm okay with just explaining it like through visual thing. I will say it would probably look a bit more convincing if they'd done a bit more visual stuff with Christopher Robin to communicate that time had passed, or that he'd been treated worse at their hands, because he did look very fresh still.
So fresh.
So fresh.
It's because he literally walked on set and got in chains. Like,
yeah, exactly.
There was no makeup on this.
And he didn't shave that week.
Glasses chick, who had nothing to do pretty much in this whole movie, and there was one shot where she looked super creepy, and probably unintentional again, but I was like, wow, she looks creepy. And it would have been such a good turnaround if it turned out she'd been the person stalking the main chick. Because she looked really creepy, and I was like, wow, she looks creepy, but I just think it was a weird shot. But I liked it because it was actually the creepiest part of the film.
Definitely an accident. The one kill that I thought looked good was the girl getting killed in the pool, because it's just a swing from behind hammer shot, but it does look like that he may have actually made contact with something physical, and there's a good amount of sort of blood spray and a bit of gore flies off, so yeah, that looked okay.
Cool. Let me check my notes. That might be everything. 1 second. Yeah, that's everything.
I only have a couple more. First of all, some terrible dialogue. It's like, if they talk, why didn't you just talk to him? And she just says, every time I tried, Piglett just mauled me again.
Time I tried, Piglett just mauled me again.
That's so bad. And then when the girls are like observing the survivor woman try to shoot Piglett, they just say, her gun's not working. And then when she gets attacked, I can't listen to her screams.
I can't listen to her screams!
So bad.
So bad.
So bad. And then finally, inexplicable moment, which would have been funny if paced right and if it hadn't come at one of easily the most patience testing sequences, is when the hillbillies are dying and one of them's running away, and Pooh does a gesture and a horde of bees appear to take out the final guy.
Oh my god.
Pooh commands the loyalty of bees, and that would be a very funny, like, absolutely innocuous reveal if, again, it hadn't come, because I love the idea of not setting that up at all. It's just he likes honey, therefore he commands the loyalty of bees. Would have been a funny little, like, offhand moment if the rest of the movie had gotten me in the right place. There was no foreplay for that punchline. Just sprung it on me, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, bees. Oh, okay. Guess we're doing bees now.
Bees then. Blood and Honey 2, The Swarm.
Oh no, no, don't pitch it to him. Oh, he's gonna use that. Let's copyright it now. Copywriting that.
We'll copyright it now. We're gonna make our own. We can do that now. This whole thing is out of copyright. We can make Blood and Honey 2.
The Swarm.
And make it actually good, just to show him. Right. Well, that's it for quickfiring. Let's go check in with the deformed creatures of the OG Team Forest. Mark Reed, the man whipping us with our dead wife's hair, says, I'm pleased as punch to see just lately some low-budget horror movies getting attention and making a little money back. Unfortunately, this movie really misses the mark, because given the history of the character, they totally missed out by not having any charm to the movie.
Yes.
However, you're here for good things. Really good animated opening. Sure. Treehouse torture room. Was it a treehouse?
It was.
I always thought it was.
Well, it was like a.
I thought it was like just a shed.
Because in the books it's a treehouse, and then he comes and he's like, the house has got bigger.
Okay, I missed that. Okay, that's not bad. Christopher Robin's dodgy accent. Yes, he was apparently Ukrainian British, the main actor.
Right, that's why he
yeah,
was dodgy. Okay, yeah.
Some fun practical kills, head smush.
Oh no, that was terrible.
Yeah. Well, no. Again, the pool one I liked. It's also pretty well made considering the budget. But my one better thing is Terrifier 2, because it's definitely the better low-budget horror movie that had cinema time and made money. Also, it's if Police's Punch refers to the wife-beating puppet, then I take it back. Fair enough. That's a good point. Where does that phrase come from? If it is to do with Punch, then that's probably best avoided. Nevertheless, thank you so much for writing in, Mark Reed. I will have more to say on the idea of low-budget horror making money in a moment after I've read the next one. Sorry we poo-pooed some of your better things there, but yeah, the practical gore I'd love to have seen more of, and for it to have been a little bit more careful, and the filmmaking was a little glossy and bland to me in a way that has become quite standard. Like, drone shots are featured in abundance in this, and I think a drone shot is typically a sign of cheap filmmaking these days. Jennifer Soames writes in on Facebook, or whatever the fuck this thing's called. I really appreciate that there is low-budget horror like this being made in these days of big studios. Also, wrestling IP from under the shroud of Disney is great. As far as the movie itself, it is understanding that the composer took the assignment seriously and put in a ton of effort. I found it very overwrought. There were even some instruments that had honeycomb in them. That's quite fun. It makes me think that this production was not entirely cynical. There's always someone putting in the effort. For some reason, it does also make me think of a one better thing, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, which has been recommended for this podcast before. I've heard lots of good things. I've not seen it. So, philosophically, yes. Taking a property from Disney, being a low-budget movie that actually makes money, yes, but it's not uniformly a good thing, and I still think this film is a very cynical effort. I think it's trying to exploit... Because what you've got with horror film is... It's a pulp medium, by which I mean there is a very large level of demand, a somewhat undemanding fan base, and a low barrier to entry. Yep. Those three things together make it pulp. You know, it's like anime in Japan. It's like detective novels back in the 50s, or the old Victorian horror stories. Yep. It means a lot gets made, because it's easy enough to sell it to this huge crowd. And the result is, in any genre, in any medium... 90% of the work is going to be mediocre or bad. But because a huge amount of it is being made, it makes that 10% grow. You know, because it's more likely to hit it. If it's a 1 in 10 chance and you're making 100 movies instead of 20, more of them are going to be good.
Yep.
It means that people who have a unique voice and interest and enthusiasm are going to be able to find a way into the industry. And you find that. Like, Mike Flanagan came up in the trashy DDD horror films of the... noughties, and made good films like Absentia, and that before working his way up to Oculus and beyond. So there's potential, but I feel like this is just part of the 90% of terrible movies. There's no vision here, and even though it's not Disney because he doesn't have the means, he's just as cynical and exploitative as Disney. So I don't think it represents a triumph for the small filmmaker. This film, I think this is just a cold money-making effort from a charlatan.
Yep, I agree.
Yay. Sorry, Ayochi team, but thank you very much for recommending it, Mark Reed. It's very good to keep up with this kind of thing, to keep an eye on the state of the art, so to speak, and it certainly was interesting. Oh, dear. Let's talk about the one better thing. The one better thing.
One better thing. I've got three.
Ooh, wow. Okay, go for it.
Our first one is probably the same, right? It's going to be Cocaine Bear.
Oh, yeah, there's Cocaine Bear. Absolutely.
Okay, so Cocaine Bear, we saw one of the first films we saw this year. We both laughed all the way through it.
Yeah,
there was some amazing gore, good performances, funny bits, good filmmaking. The bear was done really well, and there were people you cared about, and there was character development. And it wasn't too long. It was still a relatively, it was 2 hours at most.
Yeah.
And yeah, everyone should go and see Cocaine Bear. Highly recommended from 2 avid horror fans. So
yeah, it was really fun and quite playfully subversive, and set itself all around these genuinely effective set pieces.
Cool. another one is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And the reason I choose this is because it's a Generation Z, like, one by one killed horror movie, right? So
yeah,
this is it tries to be like a Gen Z thing because you've got the chick in the hot tub who's doing her Instagram, and it's like, get your phones away, nobody's scrolling on Instagram all weekend. You know, it's kind of like trying to be like, you know, kind of early 20-year-olds, whatever. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Is that the last time you see them all speak? Aside from the fact of the bit where she's telling her story to them and they're all just like, be like, oh, that's so fucked up. Like, aside from that, is that the only time they speak to each other?
Well, as a group, I think it might be.
Fuck me. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, and Bodies, Bodies, Bodies does that so well. Like, it takes Generation Z and takes the absolute piss out of them. And, like every single person has a kind of Gen Z archetype, but it doesn't feel like they're doing it in that way. It feels like these characters are genuinely just like horrible Gen Z people. But you also care about the lesbian couple in the movie, so they also have a lesbian couple that you actually care about in that movie. So again, just an amazing horror slasher film that is definitely worth seeing if you are fans, and also funny in a lot of parts.
It is
very funny.
And in spite of making fun of like some Generation Z hang-ups, it still is so rooted in the characters. And they're complicated, but they're not entirely unlikable. You know, there's unlikable things about them, and they end up slipping up in ways that feel very believable and, you know, very universal in terms of how they start coming apart. But yeah, like literally all of the horror comes within them, within the way they treat each other.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And the last one is kind of sidestep, but the reason I'm putting it in will become clear. It's The Descent, and the reason I choose that is just largely because that it's based around female characters. So it's a horror film where the main cast are female, like all of them, apart from obviously Christopher Robin in this. But yeah, I think that's, and it's relatively low budget and terrifying, like truly terrifying film. One of the ones that even I get scared at, and I'm so desensitized at this point, like it's really difficult for me to be scared at horror, and I'm terrified of The Descent. So yeah,
absolutely. So I'm gonna go a slightly different way. I'm gonna go with actually, in spite of all the good work that small studios are doing, and I could actually find some really great small budget horror movies. There's one out right now. There's Talk to Me, which is extremely good. Although I think it might also be supported by A24. So
it is A24.
It is A24. I don't know if A24 made it, though, if they just bought it. But nevertheless, it's a very good film, and it's out there. But I'm actually going to go for a Disney film. I'm just going to point you towards Christopher Robin, the film from 2018, which, if you didn't see, was a surprisingly affecting film about Christopher Robin growing old and going back to 100 Acre Wood and discovering all the people he left behind there, with a lot of the original voice actors returning, but also with Ewan McGregor and Hayley Atwell. And it's just really quite affecting. You know, it's a very beautiful and kind of melancholy story about growing up and about the place that childish things still has in our lives, and about what the childhood archetypes kind of meant to us. It comes from a director who's not always brilliant. It's Mark Foster, who's made such sort of misses as Quantum of Solace and Stay, the movie that Ellen brought to the podcast, another Ewan McGregor film, which I was not a fan, and World War Z. But recently he's made something a bit better. He's made A Man Called Otto, the remake of A Man Called Ove, which was it was alright. Back in the day, he made Monsters Ball and Finding Neverland, which I believe were better received. But yeah. Oh, and he made The Kite Runner, which was very good. So hit and miss, this guy. But yeah, Christopher Robin was a very surprise hit, and it looked beautiful. There were so many moments in that film that looked like Terrence Malick. It's just weirdly gorgeous as a film. So yeah, I recommend Christopher Robin. The one better thing. And I think that's just about going to do it here at OGT. So yeah, Katie, can people just look out for your other appearances?
Yeah, I mean, if you want this week, I'll be on the next episode of Jen the Film Critic with Paul and Jen,
you will,
talking about Barbenheimer.
Yep. Which hopefully by the time you're hearing this, sweet listeners, will have already gone out.
Hopefully. And look out as well, coming up in October, November, the newest episode of We See Saw, where
Oh
we
my
review
God,
Saw
yes, of
X, which
course.
will be out by
Yes.
that time. So yeah, definitely.
Yes, of
keep
course.
an
We're gonna
eye out for that.
we're gonna pick up on We See Saw. God, we also have some Macbeths to catch up on as well. But yeah, so look out on Screen Mayhem for that. And in Patreon, you're gonna get a little sneak preview of our of that episode, because we're gonna go ahead and have our first look, because neither of us have watched it yet, at the trailer for Saw
I'm
X.
so
we're very excited about that.
Like, I've no idea.
Join us in Patreon for that, and you can find out more about everything in the episode description. But OGT Pod is the main thing you need to find us on Patreon, on X, on Meta, whatever the fuck anything is called these days.
The socials.
Just look out for us. The socials, just OGT Pod is what we are. We're not on Threads or Mastodon. We're terrified by the concept, but look out for us elsewhere. I'm Paul Elsewhere.
And I'm Katie, who you'll probably see elsewhere.
And remember, the one good thing about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. What was something we both liked? Oh, God. The animated opening.
Yeah,
right?
let's go with that.
Okay. The one good thing about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is the animated opening. Bye. God.